Welcome to the It's in Queens podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Simmons, and this is the only podcast that shines a spotlight on the borough that truly has it all, Queens. This podcast is made possible thanks to the Queens Economic Development Corporation and the Queens Tourism Council, two organizations working hard every day to showcase Queens as a vibrant destination filled with culture, commerce, creativity, and opportunity for locals and visitors alike. Now, can you believe it? Summer officially begins this Friday. The school year is wrapping up, vacations are kicking off, and the warm weather is calling. But if you're thinking of hopping on a plane, let me just say, there's never been a better time for a staycation right here in Queens. This summer, Queens has something for everyone, whether it's live music, food festivals, family fun in our beautiful parks, or cultural events from every corner of the globe. And of course, while you're out and about, remember to support local businesses, especially our small businesses. They're the heartbeat of so many communities across the borough. That brings me to something we've been highlighting all month long, the work of the Queens Economic Development Corporation, which continues to support entrepreneurs and small businesses so they can thrive. And one key initiative is the 2025 Queens Tech and Innovation Challenge, or QTIC, a dynamic 5-month program run in partnership with the Queens Borough President, Donovan Richards. It combines hands-on instruction, business coaching, and funding opportunities for entrepreneurs looking to launch or grow their startups. And in this program, participants attended workshops on topics like AI, financial planning, and marketing. Then they pitched their ideas to judges in a 2-round competition, and one winner was selected in each of 5 categories: community, consumer tech, enterprise tech, food and beverage, and sustainability. And each winning business received $20,000 to support their growth. So this week, I'm excited to introduce one of those winners to you, Nabil, Khatri, winner in the sustainability category and founder of Queens Bike Share, a community-focused service that rents out electric, pedal assist, family, and cargo bicycles. These bikes come with helmets, locks, and even child seats, making it easier than ever for Queens families to get around sustainably. So let's get to that conversation. Nabil Khatri, welcome to the It's in Queens podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with your story. Talk a little about what inspired you to create Queens Bike Share. How did this idea first take shape?
So I've always been very passionate about transit, micromobility, especially in the last 5 years. I spent 6 months in Amsterdam in college, and that's kind of where I say I got enlightened. Biking is a very practical way for people to get around there. So when I got back to New York, the first thing I did was I bought a bike. So over the last 5 years, I've kind of just been planting my roots in the biking community in New York. And the question I often get is, hey, your bike is great for you to get around, but what about when you need to haul groceries? What about when you have kids? What about, when you need to haul a piece of furniture? That's when, I realized I already had to answer this question, because I saw these specialty bikes being used in Amsterdam for parents to take their kids to school on these big, they call them bakfiets or basket bikes. They have a big basket in the front. So I thought, New York City has a growing biking culture, so these family and cargo bikes are going to fit right in. And I also you see in the street people riding city bikes, and they try to get a kid on the front. Or where I live in Flushing, a lot of parents have those little electric bikes, and they have one kid in the front, one kid in the back. So people are already getting around on 2 wheels and trying to fit passengers and whatever else they can. So I thought I'd introduce, safer bikes, specialty bikes that are designed for this very purpose, because there's obviously a demand for it.
And the timing of this interview is so fortuitous because I just got back from Amsterdam, my first trip there last week. And this was one of the things I noticed were the cargo bikes, all the different variations. Surprisingly, not many helmets being worn. That was one of the big observations I had. But I believe that in your business, it's not just about providing the bikes, but you also have helmets and other type of equipment as well.
Correct. Yeah. So our infrastructure, I would say, is a little bit behind Amsterdam. Over there, it's very safe to bike around even without a helmet, because they have completely separate infrastructure and highways for bikes. In New York, although we're seeing some of that in the recent years, you still have a lot of bike lanes that are kind of mixed with traffic and require you to negotiate with other cars on the street. So for that reason, I wear a helmet most of the time when I'm on my bike, and I definitely recommend all of our customers to wear them, and definitely children as well. There's no legal requirement in New York, in general. Maybe for kids there are, but it's still a good thing to do because the nature of biking in New York City is a little different than Amsterdam.
So, talk a little about your business model because it's very unique. You offer electronic, pedal assisted family and cargo bikes. Would love for anyone listening to this to know about the scope of the services you provide.
Yeah, so I mean, the primary thing that we do provide is we give access to these specialty bikes that a lot of folks, especially in the States, don't have experience with, right? So these are specialty bikes. They don't look quite like normal, bikes that you see on the street. They have a big basket in the front. So the primary thing that we do is rental, so people can rent them out for a day, multiple days. The longest we typically do is about 2 weeks. And then in general, we also provide sales, especially for local New Yorkers who, want to try these bikes. They're big investments. So instead of purchasing one, they try it out. And if it works for their lifestyle, we give them the opportunity through, either bikes that we're a dealer of already or, network connections that we have to manufacturers of these bikes. So we'll refer them to these bike companies so they can buy the bikes, buy the accessories. And it's a pretty low risk way for them to see if this bike fits their lifestyle. And then a little bit of like service as well. Recently, we've had a lot of cargo bike owners reach out to us and ask us to do like tune-ups and general maintenance because these are specialty bikes and there's not a lot of bike shops in New York, at least, that specialize in these bikes at the moment.
Nabil, let me find out a little more about you, though, and your life in Queens, because I should have started with that. Talk a little about growing up or living in Queens.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Jamaica, Queens. So, I'm a Queens boy, through and through. And, growing up, it was very normal, like every New Yorker. The car wasn't the only or primary way that we got around. We walk, we have public transit. My mom didn't drive, so she took us on the bus and the subway. And again, like a typical, even American experience, biking around the neighborhood was very normal. Usually, though, in America, once we get like 13, 14, the bike falls out of favor. It's looked at like as a toy. So, in my adult life, I had to rediscover the bike. And it took me back to my, days in Queens, Jamaica, just going around the neighborhood, meeting friends, going to school. So definitely this like multimodal experience that I had growing up in Jamaica, Queens really impacted how I view, how you get around today, right? Like I don't advocate that bikes are the only way to get around. For me, what I really appreciate about being in New York and Queens is that we have so many choices. And, oftentimes your trip is not just, one form of transportation. It could be like, biking to the subway or hopping on a bus and then a train or, commuter railroad, or for a lot of people that live in the outer boroughs or Long Island, even they drive to a train station, they take their train into the city. So, we're very lucky to be in a place where there's so many different options on how you can get around.
I'd love for you to talk a little about how bike sharing fits into the broader movement for sustainable transit in Queens and across New York City.
Yeah, so I mean, if you live in Queens, the number one thing people complain about in a day-to-day conversation is like traffic or parking, right? And outside of like those negative effects of like congestion, there's a lot of like environmental considerations also, right? Pollution and space, and not to mention the other impacts that cars have on the safety of the well-being of everyone that lives in a neighborhood. So the way that I see these bikes and biking in general is a way to relieve that congestion and recommend something that has a very low carbon footprint. E-bikes are way more efficient. Well, generally bikes are way more efficient than cars, and e-bikes even are more efficient than electric cars, which are like the big environmentally friendly kind of solution that's being marketed right now. But there's a solution that exists that's even more environmentally friendly. So for people where bikes can or e-bike can fit into that lifestyle, it's a very good way to reduce your carbon footprint. And even people that own electric cars that are interested in this for environmental reasons, you don't necessarily have to replace your entire car with a bike, but maybe some percentage of your trips, right? In America, most car trips or vehicle trips are about 3 miles, which is really a small amount of distance, especially for a bike or an e-bike. So if you can even replace all your in-neighborhood trips with the e-bike, you're saving the environment, you're definitely saving money, right? You don't have to necessarily buy a second car like a lot of folks have to do in Queens. And then it's great for like last mile, right? So We do have like a public transit network. It doesn't reach all parts of the city, especially in Queens. So it's very good for that last mile, solution. It could cut your travel time, for example, waiting 30 to 45 minutes for a bus from the subway to maybe 10 or 12 minutes. So it's a huge time saver, money saver, and it's enjoyable as well. Like a lot of people that ride these bikes, they have a good time. The kids have a good time. So there's a lot of benefits packed into these small big bikes, let's say.
And speaking of sustainability, you were just named the winner in the sustainability category of the 2025 Queens Tech and Innovation Challenge. Talk a little about what this recognition means to you personally and for the future of your company.
Yeah, so I mean, Queen's Bike Share was something that I started without having a very clear idea of where to take this. I just knew that I wanted to be in this space, and I knew that there was a lot of opportunity in this space because of the changes happening, around me in the city as well as broadly in the country and the world. So this really gave me that motivation to, continue investing in this direction, right? Like it kind of validated this idea that I have that people are interested in this type of sustainable transport. Even waiting for the finalist announcement, I was talking to some of the other competitors and I got amazing feedback. They're like, wow, this is so great, this is so awesome. So there were parts after like a year and a half of running this where I was doubting whether or not there was room to turn this into something bigger than what it was. And this gave me the validation that yes, there is. And I met with a lot of mentors as part of this process as well, and a lot of them gave me very positive feedback and told me to continue reaching out to them to further discuss opportunities of where this can go. So a lot of it was honestly like, obviously the money's a nice to have, and it's great. $20,000 is nothing to scoff at, but really that validation that there's something here, right? So that's kind of the what I got out of this competition primarily.
And as the business continues to grow, what else is on the horizon? Would love to kind of tease what else is in the future for you.
I think the goal is pretty simple, right? To make these bikes accessible. And to me, what that means is that, in almost every neighborhood of New York City and Queens, you should be able to have access to one of these bikes, right? Because this is one of those things where like when you see it, when you ride one of these bikes, when you sit in one of these bikes, it clicks, right? All the questions that people ask me about how do you get around, how is this practical and non-novelty, once they actually experience it, like for the first time, it starts making sense. Like it just clicks. And I've gotten that exact feedback from people where they're like, before you talk about all this stuff about bikes and transportation and sustainability, it's all abstract. And like, we agree in the abstract that, yeah, this is great. But when I think about my life, I don't see it fitting into my life. But once they see it, once they experience it, they're like, oh, wow, actually, I could see this fitting into my life. So the future is to try to expand the network, expand the number of bikes, really put these really accessible to every New Yorker is like the first goal. And then beyond that, there's opportunity to maybe expand beyond New York. I know we're called Queens Bike Share, but I hope to make Queens a household brand. Like Brooklyn has that recognition, New York in general has that recognition. Queens not as much, but I think we're on the trajectory to do that.
And for our listeners who want to know more about Queens Bike Share, where should they go?
Our social media is probably the best place to follow us. So we're on Instagram, Queens Bike Share, and our website is queensbike.com.
Nabil Khatri, I want to thank you so much for appearing here this week on the It's in Queens podcast.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Biking in Queens is not just exercise, it's exploration. It's a chance to slow down, take in the street art, the architecture, the smell of bakeries and food trucks, and the rhythm of the city that never quite stands still. There's nothing quite like experiencing Queens on two wheels. Whether you're a seasoned cyclist or just dusting off your bike for the summer, pedaling through the borough is one of the best ways to explore our vibrant neighborhoods, scenic waterfronts, and cultural gems. So pump up your tires, throw on a helmet, and rediscover Queens the local way, one pedal at a time. Now, if you're looking for something to do this month or next, well, we have you covered. That is where Rob Mackay comes in. He's with the Queens Tourism Council and the Queens Economic Development Corporation. And every week, he brings us details on some of the more dynamic events that are happening in our borough.
Hi, Jeff. My question of the day is, have you ever heard of Thomas C. Mapother II? He had a hard life, a childhood at least. He grew up in Syracuse in Canada, went to 15 schools in 14 years. But after graduating Glen Ridge High School in New Jersey, he went to New York for a busboy stint, but then he went to LA to make it in acting, and he certainly did, under the name Tom Cruise. I think he has 4 Oscar nominations. He's won Golden Globes. He's won Screen Actor Guild Awards. He has a star in the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and he has the Guinness Book World Records for most consecutive 100 million grossing movies. And he's coming to Queens. Well, not exactly, but the Museum of the Moving Image is about to show 22 films that he starred in over the next couple months, June to starting this June 20th, this Friday, and running until August 17th. You know, everything from Risky Business to The Color of Money to Born on the 4th of July, Rain Man, Jerry Maguire, The Firm. You can check out all of them on the wide screen starting Friday, January 2nd. You know, he went from being a cocky youth to a struggling romantic to a stud muffin pilot